Every corner hides a truth.
Oh, out goes Schumacher!
For what reason? What were the politics behind it all?
I've completely forgotten.
Every team has a secret.
If it was copied, that's, in my opinion, not legal.
Every fan thinks they know the story, but no one sees how deep it goes.
Several high-profile names are listed in newly released documents turned over by the estate of convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein.
These are 16 minutes of disturbing F1 facts. What happens when innovation becomes just copy and paste? Well, for most people that's called plagiarism. For Racing Point, that's called performance upgrades. Sounds like a joke, but no. In 2020, the Stroll boys really showed up with a car that looked like it had been downloaded straight from Mercedes' Google Drive. Just that now it's pink.
We just expected more to come from some of the other teams, such as Ferrari and the pink Mercedes, so...
And let me tell you, that thing flew. Other teams lost it. They couldn't believe how overnight Lance looked like Prost and Checo like Senna.
Comes home to win the Sakir Grand Prix, Sergio Perez, wow!
That's when the protests began, demanding the FIA investigate the car's brake ducts, one of the few parts you were actually supposed to design yourself. Turns out, those ducts were way too similar to the W10s.
However, I'm extremely angry at any suggestion that we have been underhand or have cheated.
The FIA fined them €400,000 and took away 15 points, but still let them race with the same parts. It's like cheating on your test and your teacher saying, don't do it again, but you can keep the grade. And while that whole circus was happening, Ferrari was getting roasted for their tragic performances. Their 2019 engine, once a rocket, suddenly looked dead, and whispers started that Ferrari had been too creative with the fuel flow sensors. The FIA investigated, but instead of a verdict, they made a secret deal. And the thing is, this wasn't the first time in history we've seen something like that happen. If you want the full story, I recommend checking out this video, because Ferrari, being the longest standing team, has way too many stories like this. Still, none of them quite hit like this one. Look, during the sport's very first days, teams ran in national colours. France in blue, Britain in green, Germany in silver, Italy in red. All forgettable shades, obviously, except that Rosso Corsa red. The one Enzo Ferrari turned into more than paint, a religion, an identity, a pride. Or at least that's what everyone believed until 1964, when one car changed everything, the 250 LM. A car built to dominate, to destroy everything in its path. But when the FIA visited the factory, they just said, not legal. You can imagine the look on Il Commendatore's face. At least he expected the Italian Motorsport Association, the ACI, to defend him, but they didn't. So he snapped and swore he'd never compete under Italy's flag again. I mean, Ferrari is Italy, and Italy is Ferrari. But you know what they say? He who laughs last, laughs loudest. Because Enzo then called up Luigi Chinetti, an Italian-American and Ferrari's exclusive importer in the United States, and said, hey, next race is in America, let's change the name. And just like that, they ran as NART, the name of the American endurance team ran by Chinetti. And if you remember what I told you about national colours, that meant their cars would now be blue and white. Now that's what I call a man with titanium balls. Oh, and a quick reminder, John Surtees bagged the title with that cosplay, so yeah, definitely a W. A year later, a new Brit entered the chat, Jackie Stewart, known not just for speed, but also a relentless push for safety, even when the road was written in blood, like in Montreal 2013. It was a great race. De Resta conserving tyres like a grandma trying to make her old Nokia battery last another week. Webber crashing into a back marker, and Hamilton and Paierman fighting like it was for the last slice of pizza on Earth.
And they touch wheels as into turn one they go, but Alonso moves himself up into second place.
But on lap 66, a chain of events began that would end in tragedy.
Those yellow flags down by the first corner, that's Esteban Gutierrez in the Sauber.
Race control deployed a recovery crane to remove the car. And it's strange, right at that moment on the broadcast, Martin Brundle said,
They're there with the crane.
I hate to see it. I nearly hit one of those once. I hate to see those things out there.
Almost as if he could sense what was coming. Because yeah, you literally had cars flying past at full speed just a few feet away. During the recovery, one of the marshals helping to move the car dropped his radio. He bent down to grab it, lost his footing, and the recovery crane ran him over. It's one of those things that just doesn't sound real, but it happened. That man's name was Mark Robinson, someone who loved motorsport just like you and me. All he wanted was to be close to the action, to help out the heroes he admired, and in the process, he became one himself. Sadly, this wasn't an isolated event. Back in the 70s, Tom Price and a teenage marshal both lost their lives in a crash that still haunts old school fans. Sadly, both Price and the Marshal Jensen van Vuren, just a 19-year-old, passed away instantly. And honestly, I don't even want to talk about the near misses we've seen in recent years.
Wait, oh my god, are you kidding me?
Like seriously, how are we still doing this?
Red flag.
God, what the? Yeah, what is this tractor?
The show goes on, and those orange suits still stand a few feet away from danger every weekend. So next time you see a marshal waving a flag or running towards a crash, remember, they're not just background extras. They're as much heroes as the ones inside the cars. Formula One crowned 34 world champions, but only one was crowned in silence. That man was Joachim Rindt, born in Germany in 1942, right in the middle of World War II. He grew up in Graz, Austria, raised by his grandparents, and as soon as he could reach the pedals, he started street racing. He was literally the definition of built different. In just his second Formula 2 race, he beat Graham Hill, who was basically racing royalty at the time. He had raw, untouchable talent, lightning fast reactions, zero fear, and that chaotic energy that made fans fall in love instantly. Soon, Cooper gave him a shot in Formula 1 in 1964, and yeah, he got black flagged on his debut, but nobody cared. His potential was obvious. By 1970, Jochen joined Lotus, who had the most dangerous and fastest car you could drive. Their new model, the Lotus 72, was revolutionary but unstable as hell.
Plötzlich ist das Heck des Autos nach rechts ausgebrochen, hat die Leitplanken berührt, die dort Gott sei Dank waren.
So he basically told the team, no thanks, give me last year's car. At least that one doesn't actively try to murder me.
So Lotus noch nie ein Vertrauen gehabt.
He won in Monaco from P8, forcing Jack Brabham into a mistake on the very last lap. Then he won in Holland, but couldn't even celebrate. His close friend Piers Courage tragically passed away in a fire that same day. Imagine winning and just feeling nothing. Still, he kept going. In France, Britain, and Germany, he was on another level. 5 wins, 45 points. The title was basically his. Then came Monza. During practice, while going nearly 200 miles per hour, the brake shaft broke. He passed away instantly. His lead was so massive that no one could catch him. 4 races later, he became F1's only posthumous world champ. His wife Nina accepted the trophy, and standing there was Jackie Stewart, who would later dedicate his life to making sure nothing like that ever happened again.
The Grand Prix Drivers Association had a really good articulated vehicle with everything on board. The people did not put him into that vehicle.
It's crazy to think about, right? In the 70s, every race could have been someone's last. And since we're already talking about Jackie Stewart, one of the most influential Brits of that time, there's another British driver worth talking about next. His story isn't about death, but about betrayal. His name, Damon Hill, the guy who basically carried Williams through the mid-90s, went from hero to unemployed faster than a pit stop. Back in 93, Hill joined Williams as a test driver, the quiet, reliable number 2. Then the Brazilian's tragic crash in 94 changed everything.
Ayrton Senna, 3 times world motor racing champion, has died after crashing during the San Marino Grand Prix.
Suddenly, he had to lead the team through chaos. He did an exceptional job and took the fight to Schumacher and nearly won the title.
Out goes Schumacher. The German is out of the Australian Grand Prix, and Damon Hill only has to keep going. Damon obviously extremely worried.
He knows in his heart of hearts that it is all over.
As the Benetton team congratulate each other, they know that their man has won the World Championship.
But the team bosses, They weren't impressed. They saw him as good, but not great. Like that co-worker who does all the good work, but never gets promoted. In 1995, Hill had some rough races. Spins, penalties, crashes, and Williams started losing faith. Behind the scenes, they were already planning his replacement. Then came 1996. Williams built a monster car. Absolute gold standard stuff. Meg was leading the championship by miles, 25 points clear of Jacques Villeneuve, with 6 wins already. You'd think the guy would finally get some respect. Nope. While he was out there dominating, Williams secretly signed Heinz-Harald Frentzen. And here's the twist. Damon didn't even hear it from the team. He found out through a magazine.
Damon Hill's future in Grand Prix motor racing has been thrown into doubt after his Renault-Williams team announced he would not be driving for them next season.
Frank claimed it was because of Hill's mistakes from 1995, not because of 1996, which made zero sense because he was literally leading the championship. Still, Hill did what no one expected.
Past Jacques Villeneuve, he took the lead, he stayed there and wins the Japanese Grand Prix.
He won the 1996 title anyway, became the world champ, the first son of a world champion to do it too.
Damon Hill, world champion. What about that?
It's just so fantastic. I can't tell you, Murray. I was driving along and I could hear you in my head.
And then, gone. Williams kicked him out right after he gave him the trophy. He ended up at Arrows for 1997, a team so mid it made today's Haas look elite. But even there, he pulled off something wild.
He nudged the Ferrari. Move over, you can feel him saying in the cockpit, I'm going through, and Damon Hill leads. Oh boy, Damon Hill goes into the lead of the Hungarian Grand Prix.
In Hungary, he nearly won in that piece of junk before the car gave up on the last lap.
Damon's got an intermittent throttle. You can see him every so often. The car just takes off. Mind you don't turn in, Damon. His concentration.
Oh, Damon, the whole of the world's hard work out. Villeneuve takes to the grass.
Pain. Meanwhile, one more title and Williams' glory days slowly faded away. Sir Frank Williams later admitted firing Hill was a major error. Damon didn't make a scene though. He stayed classy.
I wanted to win the race for Williams, and so I'd like to dedicate this, my final victory and my final drive with the Williams team, the Rothmans-Williams Renault team, to everyone at Williams and also to Renault. But if you don't mind, I'll take the championship myself.
So he basically did the impossible. Won a title knowing he was already fired. Who even does that? But while Damon's career ended with contracts and betrayal, others didn't even get that choice. Some drivers didn't just lose their seats. They lost everything in a heartbeat. The human body can survive fire, even getting thrown into a wall at 200 miles per hour.
Okay, Gabby, are you okay? Are you okay, mate?
Yeah, I'm okay.
But not Destiny's perfect day. In 2009, Felipe Massa found out the hard way. It was qualifying day in Hungary, sunny skies, and Ferrari finally looked strong again. Felipe was calm, focused, absolutely locked in. And then out of nowhere, fate said, yeah, a spring. Not a car, not a tire, not even a piece of carbon fiber. A frickin' suspension spring from Rubens Barrichello's car. It slammed into his helmet like a crossbow bolt. He went unconscious instantly, and the Ferrari went full send into the barriers. The moment was silent. Like actual dead silence. Everyone thought they just watched a driver die again.
The medical checks show that he had a cut in the forehead, a bone damage on the skull in the region just above the left eye, and brain concussion.
But here's where it gets wild. Felipe came back. Just a few months later, the guy was walking around like nothing happened. Straight up untouchable. But still, you could tell something changed. His pace wasn't the same. The guy who used to be a class above everyone else was suddenly fighting ghosts inside his own helmet. His crash ended up being one of the reasons the halo became a thing. But this wasn't the first time F1 tried to take someone's vision. Flashback to 1972, France, at the Clermont-Ferrand circuit. A young Austrian named Helmut Marko, yeah, that Helmut Marko, was doing his thing in a BRM when suddenly a rock came flying off Emerson Fittipaldi's car. That rock went straight through his visor and into his left eye. Just like that, career over. He lost vision in that eye forever. Helmut never raced again. He wore a prosthetic eye, rebuilt his life, and later became one of the most feared and respected figures in F1. Funny thing is, their stories are almost identical, just decades apart. It wasn't a crash, it wasn't A mistake. One spring sidelined Ferrari's MVP, and one rock blinded a guy who now decides Red Bull's future. The danger in F1 used to be all about crashes and flying past, but now it's about reputation. Because once your name ends up trending next to Epstein's, that's a DNF no one can come back from. January 2024. Out of nowhere, over 900 pages from the Epstein case dropped online, and F1 fans instantly went full detective mode. People expected the usual mix of billionaires and politicians, but when they started scrolling, suddenly, boom, familiar names from the paddock showed up. Flavio Briatore, Lawrence Stroll, Bernie frickin' Eccleston, even Alejandro Agag. Yeah, the Formula E guy who made electric racing look like the eco version of chaos. And if that wasn't wild enough, there were also Jacques Villeneuve and Eddie Irvine. The truth is, none of the F1 people on that list were accused of crimes. Most were just names. I mean, this is the same sport where Ayrton Senna, a literal saint to millions, once dated a 15-year-old girl, Adriana Yamin, back in the 80s. Nobody talked about him much because he was the golden boy. Just shows how often racing's heroes come wrapped in silence. Meanwhile, the FIA was probably thinking, at least this one's not on us. Yeah, about that. Mid-2025, they got caught in their own mess. Ethical hackers discovered that the FIA's driver database, you know, the thing that stores info for every professional driver, had basically no security, like zero. Technically, those hackers could have changed driver categories, deleted licenses, or even locked Verstappen out of racing. That's not a small oops, that's an FIA level L. And the irony, F1 always brags about being the gold standard of tech, data, aerodynamics, AI simulations, all that important stuff. Yet somehow they fumbled cybersecurity harder than Haas fumbles pit stops. In the end, both stories, the Epstein list and the FIA hack, showed the same ugly truth. It doesn't matter how rich, fast, or untouchable the sport looks, power and carelessness always find a way to collide. I don't know about you, but after this, I'm not looking at the FIA the same way again. And as always, thank you for watching.